Hey y'all, I'm doing a quick one of these. I'm not going live. I am still not at 100%, but I really wanted to address this before Friday because a lot of stuff has been running through my head since last night. One of the things that I appreciate friends like Geechee pointing out is how many people are still trying to change the narrative of how the people who turned out for Joe Biden feel about his speech. And I'm telling you, as a black voter, I stand by President Biden. I stand by a lot of the things he said last night. And I just want to go over some of the finer points about capitalism and this class warfare that some of these Dems, some of the so-called middle of the road like Elizabeth Warren and far left fakes like AOC and them want to try to play. I get that black people are tired. We are weighing in heavily on issues because we see the impact on our communities. We have also seen that even though there are a few that shuck and jive for conservatives, they do not give a fuck about our continued existence. They are more than happy to see us dead. They are more than happy to see law enforcement treat us like animals. So when we have a president that says, no, I am for funding the police and having them trained and held accountable. It is key to know that Joe Biden is speaking directly to us who have been asking for that. People like me who survived an awful sexual assault when I was underage, who grew up in a New York City that was not the Times Square mecca that some of you go to now and take your selfies and do little joker reenactments of. I grew up in the New York City where guys like Bernard Getz, they debated whether or not him shooting people on the subway was just vigilante justice because crime was out of hand back then. And it just boggles my mind that people would rather fight to defund the system because they seem to think that the police are just a force that are just there to be either called on black people or to terminate black people instead of understanding that their jobs are to protect and serve us all. Every single citizen and visitor to our country. That is the job of the police. When I was a child, even though, even back then, we had a problem with police. We were told that if there was trouble, you're supposed to go to that person in that suit and that badge, in the blue uniform for us in New York. Because they wore like the blue shirts, the black pants. I can't tell my own son that. I have to try to instruct a child with autism how to act and not look threatening in a society that already deemed a skin color threatening, on how to interact with people who are supposed to protect and serve him too. So when the president of the United States says no, I am not going to ask to spit in the face of the people who do put on that uniform, do wear that badge and try to do their job, to lose money because of the assholes who put on that badge and do that job abysmal, but to hold those people who do their job abysmal accountable so that we have less of that and more people who are in the field for the right reasons. Yes, I stand by President Biden. I think it is insane to me that there are people literally trying to argue with the people who are directly impacted, who want harm reduction, not a slogan that not only loses us elections, that's putting into the seat conservatives who will boo things like cancer research, who try to lie and say it was about the soldiers. But when our president talked about restructuring the VA so that vets get the healthcare needs they have from on and off the field struggles. Howler monkeys like Bobbert, who is a dime store, dollar store, Lisa Loeb, and whatever mutation Myori Taylor Green is, they just chime in with how no class, just poorly educated they are. And this is not a knock at GED. And I know some people were doing that. And FYI, if you're mocking somebody's education level, though you're educated, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because your piece of paper doesn't always make you better than everybody. As we've seen with the college admission scandals, some people can literally buy that piece of paper and not be able to rub two brain cells together. What we have to do as a society is stop whatever this is. This insecurity, mask this confidence, this I need to take a person down to make myself feel better. It's not going to help. It's a empty abyss of a void. And you act no better than those two howler monkeys who legitimately interrupted a State of a Union address that was addressing so many of us who never felt seen. And I've seen some of the nitpicks. Oh, Biden didn't push his triumphs hard enough. Are you kidding me? Do you really think this was the time for a president to be tooting his own horn after 4 years of that shit show, constantly praising himself for doing nothing? I'm glad I had a balanced speech of somebody who not only wanted to address the problems that he sees, the problems that he wants to help tackle, but understands that he needs people around him that wants to see and get the job done as well. And that was his call to us. Those of us watching, those of us who understand the assignment, to not give up. And I know we are tired, y'all. I have been fighting health issues. I have been fighting depression, body pain, everything that my 40 damn near 5-year-old self can go through, because I'm still young enough to make babies, but old enough to say this factory needs to get ready to shut down because I'm fucking tired of this. It was a wombo combo these last few days of a cold, monthly stuff, and everything else just hitting me, and I was in pain and hurting and not feeling good. So I am so grateful to those of you who understood why I couldn't be on Tuesday afternoon. It sucks. And I hope that by doing this recording, I make up for it, and probably not going to have a mental health vlog this week. I don't know. It just all depends on how I feel. I just felt like this Bonnet short was needed because too many people had nothing but negative and nitpicks, because as a friend of mine put it, and I love following amazing people, you know, and I'm not gonna, I watched my last Bonnet Chronicles just to see, you know, runtime and brevity. I definitely got to get better in my scroll game, because I was like, oh God, I am like an old person navigating the internet, trying to figure this stuff out, and it was kind of embarrassing to me, but I don't care. You know, I tweet a lot. So when I want to find a tweet that I like, I scroll. You know, and sometimes I got to scroll past all the stuff that I put, because I tweet a lot, and I'm not ashamed of that. You know, a lot of you found me because of Twitter, because I share a lot of my opinions on Twitter, you know, and where is it? Because honestly speaking, it was an amazing tweet about Joe Biden's dealing with pundits. And I just love when people succinctly put what I was feeling after seeing people's bullshit reactions to the POTUS. I tweet so much, I can't find it. I don't want to misquote them, but basically they were talking about how the president is navigating World War III, dealing with the global pandemic, all that stuff, and pundits still want him to bitch about whatever peeve is on their mind. And I love that tweet. I want to find it, and I think I skipped right by it. There we go. That the anti-Malarkis. I love you. I know you know that. We've been following each other for a bit, but I love this. I know Biden is trying to prevent World War III while pursuing an ambitious social and domestic agenda in the face of complete Republican obstruction, but I'm not sure he spent enough time addressing the sensational grievances we have been doggedly pushing. Every pundit, and not just pundits, y'all. The reason why I even felt the need to get in front of the camera, even though I'm not 100%, and I'm not going to lie about that, I'm still feeling fatigued. I'm still bleeding heavily, and I should be relaxing even though I exercised today. The reason why I'm even giving this Bonnet short is because way too many people are trying to turn this momentous speech, this energizing speech for those of us who always understood the assignment, they're trying to downplay because they know. Biden wasn't playing. He understood that this goes beyond him. He knows the midterms are coming up. He knows people need to be energized and motivated to do our part in saving this democracy. That's why he said things like to Congress, I am going to see you. Let's get stuff done. He understands that there are checks and balances and that he can't just executive order his way through things. He needs to work within the states to make sure that we have a united front, home and abroad, against domestic dictators and foreign dictators who want to cause chaos and strife and death. He understands that we are still going through this COVID issue, and that there are still some people who, even though they know that being on a ventilator and having your last breath alone with no family around you is the way you're going to go if you don't get vaccinated, they're still choosing that. He understands that our country is hurting, divided, and there are some people so stuck in their feelings that you can't help but do better and just realize that they'll be better and complain anyway. We cannot act like the other side and expect good things to happen. We need a president who understands that and wants to be president for everybody, whether they like him or not. We need somebody who can go across the aisle because he realizes that there are still going to be some states, no matter how cruel their conservative leaders are, that will vote for them in droves, and that the president has to still work and be the leader of those people. He can't call them his enemies, and that's not how Joe operates. He made it clear that he's a man of faith, but he's also a man of understanding that women's rights to choose and our bodies should not be left up to people who aren't directly in our lives, who aren't us. He made it clear to Black people that he hears us when we say we want police to treat us like human beings, to not put bullets in our backs, to not take our sons and our daughters away from us and no-knock raids, to be held accountable when they do it. That is what I want to hear from a president. He told us that he nominated not only a highly qualified, but a woman who knows what she needs to do as a Supreme Court justice. Something that he promised us on the campaign trail, something that a lot of people tried to ding him for, saying he wouldn't keep that promise, and he did. I know that in this day and age of virility, this day and age of stunting, this day and age of people who do stupid things because they know if enough people like it and follow and retweet it, they can build some kind of reputation and credibility, that character actors and frauds tend to be louder and more amplified. But we need to get past the noise and focus on those who want to get the work done. There are so many upcoming races. There are so many ways we can show those who want to be cruel, that don't want to get the job done, that sat at that State of the Union or made rude gestures to our president, that they don't need their job anymore, that we need adults in the room that are willing to work with us. Because we've seen Biden put sanctions up. Biden said he is going after the oligarchs who made way too much money over here and was living lovely while oppressing people. Having a president that understands economic and foreign policy, that knows the job, is so vital after we have 4 years of utter incompetence, of a broke ass pretending to be a billionaire who did nothing but ingratiate himself and got us even closer to nuclear conflict. The reason why Putin even feels so fucking bold is because of all the shit that 45 did. He was the perfect Putin puppet, and the damage he caused is what the Ukrainian people are feeling right now. And to repair that damage, we needed somebody like Joe Biden, who had not only the legislative background from being the senator, the executive background for being vice president, but who is now being the president we needed him to be. I've said it before on Twitter, and I mean it. Black pragmatists are all about harm reduction. When we vote, it is who will do the least harm to our community, who will at least hear our voices, who will not treat us like we are a one-note slogan that you can dismiss, Who isn't just going to say BLM but not listen to our voices? That was Joe Biden, and he even enforced that by putting Kamala Harris, who a lot of us felt, heard us, saw us, reflected us. That is why Joe picked her. That is why Joe continues to make it known that this is the Biden-Harris administration. And no matter how salty you bitches get about that, that is the reality. Having respect for your running mate, knowing the amount of intelligence and economic knowledge and just people knowledge that she brings to your administration here and abroad. The fact that they were able to get 30 countries to work together against this Napoleonic wannabe despot in Putin. And y'all want to nitpick because he said that he is for funding the police so that they will stop terrorizing us and stop allowing just anybody who doesn't even pass their basic psych evaluations to have a gun and a badge? Are you kidding me? We Americans have to get our shit together, because a lot of the messes that we are currently fighting to clean up are self-inflicted. You can't ignore the dirt until it touches you and then go, oh, it's dirty. This is bothering me. This is inconvenient to me. You can't stay home and not vote and then bitch when the country falls apart because we don't have competent people in our state and local legislative branches. You can't sit on Twitter and bitch about this president isn't doing enough for me, when you don't understand that the president is not a dictator and he can only do so much when there are 50 different states ran by 50 localized electors who get to pick and choose what they want to listen to. You can put a federal law in the book, but if states say, not for me, no, our legislative branch said no to this, they can legit veto whatever the president puts forward and cause conflict. This is basic civics. And the fact that I've got to explain this to grown people is sad, but I will not stop, because some of you need to understand this. If you want better, you can't just slogan on Twitter. You can't just hashtag it and hope that somebody else will put in the effort. Especially when the only effort some of you have to put in is checking the ballot, making sure that the person running on your ballot is actually going to do the legislative vote and put it in the vote. Some of you don't even have to stand in line anymore, because plenty of states have now passed mail-in ballot measures, absentee ballot measures. You can vote from home, making sure that you were registered and on their list. But some of you won't even bother with that, but you will complain. One of the things I've seen from the Ashy Coalition, I don't care if this makes y'all upset. I know some black people get mad at me for calling these hoteps ashy. Don't fucking care. Miss me. Y'all don't have to watch my stuff. Why are you watching it if I upset you? Don't make sense. But the Ashy Coalition, oh, he didn't talk about reparations. We don't even have enough of a majority to pass the George Floyd Policing Act or the Voter Rights Bill. We barely got the lynching bill through. You want a Congress that is still 50% Republican to vote on reparations? Y'all keep playing yourselves. If you get enough loud, wrong people who really don't even want to put in bare minimum effort to retweet and be your little foot soldiers for fuckery. And this is why we can't get anywhere. Because complaining is way more lucrative for you than actually casting a ballot. And that needs to change. Because we've seen what happens when we allow apathy and lack of empathy for our fellow man, whether they're idiot conservatives or not, take over. We cannot act like them and expect anything better to happen. We need legislators. Some of you want to, oh, we need a fighter. Things aren't happening fast enough. I see. Where's Merrick Garland? That whole where's Merrick Garland bothers me, because you didn't think about the AG before Trump. You weren't talking about the national AG before Trump. Most of you couldn't even name an AG before Donald Trump became president. Now, all of a sudden, it's where's Merrick this and where's Merrick? Merrick Garland's doing his job. Merrick Garland does not report to Twitter when he's doing his job. None of you have anything to say about the constant stream of people being convicted, going to jail and crying because they didn't really think they was going to jail for that January 6th terrorism thing. But if you listen to some of you so-called Dems with your blue wave emojis and your resist profile, oh, it's not happening fast enough. I'm not seeing it like Benson and whatchamacallit on Law and Order, so it's not happening. One of the things that makes it hard for me to sit quiet, one of the reasons why I have these Bonnet Chronicles, one of the reasons why I get in front of a camera every week instead of just staying in my quiet introvert self, writing stories and trying to act like nothing's wrong, is because I see so many open face fuckery things on social media and beyond. So many people spreading this closed-minded ignorance, unchecked and unchallenged, and I can't do it anymore because it hurts my community and beyond. Some of you will yell at me about how defund the police is for your own good, and how? How are you telling somebody who was the victim of a violent crime that me asking for police not to see my skin as a threat so that I can call them if I'm in danger, that my kid can feel safe around them, when literally a young man who was only 19 years old with autism died in their hands? I can't forget Elijah. I can't forget Ayana, who died on the couch with her grandmother. I can't forget Mike or Tamir. And I sure as hell can't even forget the boys who lost their lives to just violent vigilante racists like Jordan Edwards and Trayvon Martin. Because our babies' lives matter, and we need law enforcement who wouldn't have seen them as threats as well. That is the reality of existing as a Black American, whether we were born here through our ancestral roots, whether we immigrated here. We have all experienced the anti-Blackness this country has given us, and we are tired of it. We are tired of being told that we're not citizens enough to protect. We are tired of being told that the system cannot be worked to see us and treat us fairly. That is unacceptable. And we need a system that looks just like us as well as every other American. And what kills me is how people are acting like these appointments mean, oh, it'll be more of them and none of us. No. Nobody from my campus said we only want Black women. We're saying we want Black women too. Because the Supreme Court that represents every single walk of life is where we should be going. But some of you play yourselves. You will call my reality identity politics when you've been playing that game for 400 fucking years. No, I'm sorry. We are not waiting for your permission anymore. We are not doing that. We have a president who, while he was not in my top 5 at first, I understood the assignment when he got the nom. I knew that I had to do everything I could to not only vote back and support this man, but that I understood that he was not my enemy. He wasn't the person that I was hopeful for at first. But he damn sure gave me more hope by taking the person that I was backing 100% as his running mate. And not only that, going beyond by keeping his word on the campaign trail. Appointing not only our first openly gay Secretary of Transportation, our first Native American Secretary of the Interior, which it's about damn time. Some of you want to sleep on that and nitpick what he couldn't say. When, hello, we are literally watching a full-on conflict by the fucking wannabe Napoleonic dictator Putin that could launch us into World War III. We are still dealing with COVID-19. We still have an economy that we are rebuilding, even though 5.7% increase across the board is a fucking good thing. Lifting families out of poverty is a good thing. Giving us a child tax care credit that helped a lot of families like mine, restoking the job economy so that people like my family could work again is a fucking good thing. Recognizing things like mental health and not using it only in negative context. Realizing that our kids, after 2 years of watching people around them die and be locked down for a minute and told to go to school a minute, wear a mask, but don't wear a mask, book ban, all the fuckery that our kids are taking on top of active shooting drills have worn their fragile minds as it is. And having the president finally recognize mental health is so vital and important, because too many people act like mental health issues are a character flaw and a choice and not a product of a society that wears you fucking down until there's almost nothing left of reason. I wanted to do this Bonnet short because the State of the Union is important. Even when it was that awful, disgusting windbag, I watched it with a frown on my face. I watched it completely in just awe that this is what you replaced Barack Obama with when it was 45. But last night, not only did I feel a sense of hope, a sense of renewed energy, a sense of calm that allowed me to sleep soundly last night, but a sense of this is what happens when you elect somebody that not only understands the job, has the qualifications to do the job, but wants to raise everybody up. Who doesn't see Americans as people to hate or not envious to them. Who isn't there to tell us all the good things he did, because he's not in it to just get praise from us. He's in it to lead. And leading isn't always going to be a good thing. He's not always going to make decisions that everybody agrees with, because it's a fucking tough job. Sometimes you have to fight with people. Sometimes you have to decide not to fight with people. You're never going to make everybody happy, and that is the reality of being president. And even though I can't stand 45, that fucking terror burglar, I understood that when I watched his State of the Union, even though it was hard to sit through that illiterate gibberish read off a teleprompter when it was that man. It was a vast difference last night. And I am so grateful that we are in a day and age where enough of us can still come together and vote. And we have to keep doing that. We have to support this administration with decent local representation. If your state legislator was one of those stone-faced fuckers or the howler monkey twins yelling at our president when he was talking about fighting cancer and taking care of our vets, you need to do your job in protecting our democracy and show those idiots their walking papers. Have a plan to do in 22 and beyond. We need the vote. We need strong state representation. Here in Michigan, I've got like 12 fucking Republicans gunning for Big Gretch. I ain't gonna let that happen on my watch. Michigan is not going red, y'all. Not on my watch. But some of you have very contested state-run elections that y'all need to be on the ground for. And if you don't live in somebody else's state, you're fine having your opinion. Everybody has opinions. But if you're not backing a candidate financially, maybe shut the fuck up. You don't have to weigh in. You are not a political expert and analyst all the time. If you're not living in Texas and you're not helping Beto beat that bigot Abbott, maybe don't weigh in so much about Texas politics, because it's obvious you just don't care. I need people who are willing to put in the effort to help Democrats win, because it's what we need. And I'm not talking about Justice Dems either. It's funny how many of them had to address the president, and they even dialed back some of their rhetoric because Biden took the piss out of them. He said what he said because he knew the Republicans was running with that far left rhetoric of, oh, they want to defund the police. They want your neighborhoods unsafe. They want to talk about the 1% like anybody who owns money is the enemy. Y'all's class warfare bullshit rhetoric is hurting people who actually want to work for people like me. And then you use my pain as a shield to say, no, I'm just standing up for these people. No, you're not. We're not asking for defunding. We're asking for recognition as citizens to protect. We're asking for that person with the badge to not assume automatically that we're the threat. And if you gave a damn about our issues like the president showed in his speech yesterday, you would have understood that instead of getting upset. But some of you showed your true colors. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up because, like I said, this is just a bonnet short. I just wanted to get this out of my system. I'm going to talk about this more on Friday. I am excited to. I am going to rest. I got my exercise in earlier. You know, despite what Axiom says, I am not pushing it, y'all. I know my limits right now. I know not feeling well is very important. I'm getting up there in age. I can't play around with this stuff. But I don't want to not speak when I'm feeling something. And doing these Bonnet Chronicles and these shorts and these mental health vlogs are just my way to remind you that our voices are powerful. We can utilize them to not only foster change, but remind people while we're in it. Even if I wasn't a parent, I want this world to be better. And there's just so much we can all personally do to make ourselves better and make this world better. And we need to work on that. But I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you all Friday night on Twitch, 7 p.m. EST. We are going to talk politics and social issues. I really hope that a lot of you took more confidence and inspiration from the State of the Union like I did. But even if you didn't, you have the right to your opinion. I just don't agree with you. I'll see you all in a few days.